Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to Professor Bowtie's Arcanum Complete mod. I'm making this short video to show all of the spell changes that have been made in this mod. So first of all, I should explain again that one of the major changes in this mod is that the PC and all NPCs have had their health doubled and their fatigue tripled. So you'll notice this character, level 25, has 18 constitution and almost 340 fatigue. Fatigue is now called stress. It's a measure of your mental well-being. It is not depleted when you're attacked by weapons. The only thing that lowers fatigue is spell casting and the attacks of some powerful undead and demons. Think of this like sanity and mental health. So all NPCs and PCs have much higher fatigue. Therefore, NPCs will cast a lot more spells. Fatigue potions are a little harder to come by, so the player character has to be more prudent with their spell casting or rest more often. Okay. All spells have also had their casting cost increased or altered. The order of spells has been rearranged, and the minimum willpower for spells has been increased. The first spell in each school cost 8, after that it's 11, 13, 16, and 19. This was done to limit the use of powerful spells early. It's a little silly that the highest spells in a school are usable at level 15, even though the game goes to level 50 or higher if you have the level cap remover. So I've tried to limit these more powerful spells until later in the game. Even so, most mages will be able to cast these spells by level 20, level 25. Okay. Alright, so let's cause some havoc. Let's make Virgil wait. We're going to show off some of these spells. Okay, first of all is Conveyance. Conveyance didn't have many changes. We still have Unlocking Cantrip, but that is the first spell in the school because it's probably the simplest and the least effective overall. Second is Disarm, which is actually a really good spell. I think it was underrated in the original game, or underrated in the previous versions of the game. So, he didn't even have a weapon. Let's disarm Virgil. There we go. So, I think it significantly helps in combat. So that's level 2. Level 3, we have Spatial Distortion. That's exactly the same spell, except pound for pound it costs a little less, so it's a little more castable, and the art has been changed. It's no longer instantaneous because you have to wait for this graphic to move. I think it's pretty cool. I don't know how you feel. Okay, level 4, Unseen Force is gone. Instead, we have Egress, which is exiting. That's the spell that was exiting, previously only castable from a scroll. Now you have it handy. Okay. Finally, we have Teleport. This is exactly the same, except the cost is very high now. The cost is so high that you probably, a mage with really good stat selection could probably cast it around level 20, 25. But if you don't choose your stats carefully, it's going to be pretty tough. Alright, Divination. First, we have Sea Contents. So I removed Sense Alignment. I really liked the idea of Sense Alignment, but it doesn't really pay off because alignment isn't totally developed in this game. So I removed Sense Alignment because Read Aura does the same thing. So we have Sea Contents first, which is a basic spell, easy to cast, cheap. Then we have Read Aura, which does exactly what it did before. Then we have Perspicacity. Sorry for an obnoxious name. Perspicacity. This is spot traps, but it also gives you a bonus to perception. The bonus scales. So with these spell changes, all of these 8 stats can now be buffed by spells. There is a pertaining spell for each of these characteristics. Okay. This scales up to 4 bonus to perception and a bonus to spot traps. The bonus to spot traps is not as high. So even with Perspicacity, you can still get hit by traps. Okay, next is Divine Magic is now level 4. Divine Magic is useful, but it's pretty lame. final spell for the school. So, final spell is Precognition. Precognition gives you a large bonus to dodge. It also gives you a bonus to gambling, because it's like reading the future, and it gives you a significant bonus to critical hit chance, and reduces critical failure chance. So the description says, let's see, says, this spell allows the caster to anticipate the course of battle and games of chance. So dodge, gambling, and critical hit. Probably pretty cool for thief characters, I think. Alright, next, I've made significant changes to the elemental schools. As we would probably all agree, Earth and Fire were the only modestly useful schools before. I've tried to balance it out a little more, but it's still maybe not totally balanced. Earth starts with Wall of Stone, which is a maintained spell. If you're level 1 to 5, this actually costs a lot to maintain, so you can't hold it very long. I've changed the art too, so it doesn't look as stupid. Level 2 is Stone Throw, which is just as before, except I think the damage is less crazy than it was before. It scales, and it scales to a very wide range. So a low-level character with low aptitude won't do a ton of damage. It also caps out. All of the elemental damage spells cap out at pretty modest damage, so it's not really an in-game spell. You're not going to one-hit KO anybody with this spell in the later games, unless it's like an Ailing Wolf. Level 3 is Strength of Earth. Same as before, scaled up to 4-point bonus to Strength. I've also added tags to the spell parameters so that you cannot have more than one element in effect at one time. So you can't have Purity of Water and Strength of Earth, because the way I envision it, spells, elements compete with each other. Okay. Level 4 is Beckon Sprite. So now, well, as before, you have summon spells for all the elements, but they're not the big elementals. I think that was overpowered, and that took away from the summoning school. So you have slightly weaker creatures. In this case, you have a Rock Sprite, level 15. Still pretty formidable, probably not going to hold his own too well at level 40. Okay, and then finally we have... Oh, hold on. I don't have enough fatigue, enough stress. Body of Stone. Same concept as before. I think I tweaked like the damage resistance, still makes you slow, increases your damage, high damage resistance, high resistance to some other kinds of attack. Slow, brute character. Pretty much the same. Okay, next. Oh, did I skip air? Sorry, let's go back to air. So, level 1 air is Gust of Wind. I actually really like this now. Watch what it does. It should push back all characters unless they resist. Notice these characters are resistant. So, spell resistance is actually more common in the mod. Let's go into here, and I'll show you Gust of Wind in a crowd. Okay, it's not going to win any battles. Not even really that useful, but it looks cool. So it has a chance to knock back creatures. So if you're getting absolutely swarmed, not that way. Okay, that's Gust of Wind, easily castable. Then you have Lightning. So this was the force spell, Lightning. You remember air really didn't have a very good attack. It had poison vapors, which doesn't really make sense if you're an air elementalist, why you can summon poison. So I gave the school Lightning. Okay. Same as before, except the damage is not nearly as high. You can cast it early. Oh. I changed the art a little bit too. And the sound. Okay. Level 3. Vitality of Air raises Constitution up to 4 depending on aptitude. Level 4 Beckon Tempest. This is a lesser elemental creature called a Tempest. This was actually a pre-existing creature. Level 12. This creature can also cast its own spells. I think it can cast Gust of Wind. Okay, and then we have Body of Air. Body of Air is a little different now. You move faster, high AC, you cannot physically attack, and you get a pretty significant bonus to prowling. So I figure if you're made of air, you can sneak around easily, like a vampire. Okay, next is fire. First, Wall of Fire. Costs a lot to maintain for a low character. Second, Fire Flash, of course. This does less damage than Stone Throw, but it has splashing damage. So, useful early on, but unless you put points into fatigue or stress or constitution to raise your stress level, you're not going to be able to spam this. A level 1 character can cast this maybe 2 times before falling over, maybe 3 times. Next, Agility of Fire, up to 4 bonus to Dex. Number 4 is Beckon Flame Shade. This was a lesser fire elemental that I think I renamed as a Flame Shade. Maybe it was already Flame Shade. This guy can also cast Fire Flash, and he can attack. Probably really good for opening chests. Formidable in battle early on, but he's not going to win any battles at level 40. Okay, then we have Body of Fire. This is pretty much the same. I think I lowered some of the damage resistance, so you're not like a super tank, but you're still pretty formidable. Whack. 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 Yeah, not bad. Alright. Oh, and you can no longer cast the body spells on anybody but the caster. I thought that was way overpowered. You have Mogmead with all his equipment turned into a stone elemental. That's ridiculous. Okay, water spell. So I think we'd probably agree that water was probably the least useful element before. Probably still the case, but not as bad anymore. I think there is some usability to it. First is Call Fog. I have greatly expanded the radius. See how huge it is now? Might slow down the game if you're running like some old-ass Windows 95. I don't think so, though. So this actually does inhibit like ranged attack to hit chance, so probably could be useful if you have like a bunch of bowmen hitting you. But this one I'm actually really happy about. Squall of Ice now does constant damage and has a chance to knock people over. And you can target it to an area. Let's try it here. See that? Knocks them down. They get up. They get knocked down again. Okay. See? She keeps falling down. So at low levels, it's not going to do a lot of damage. And it costs a lot to maintain at low levels. So it's not going to win any battles. But you know, when you're in a crowd of people and they're coming at you like this, it's not too bad. Combine it with some gust of wind. Make their saves. There you go. Or you can entangle somebody underneath your Squall of Ice and just watch them die. There. Then finally we have Body of Water. Only castable on the caster. Body of Water still... So water has a hard time because when you change into Body of Water, there's no characteristic that makes it stand out. It doesn't lose the ability to attack like Body of Air. It doesn't do extra damage like Body of Stone. It doesn't do fire damage like Body of Fire. So it's really hard to make this unique. What I've done is I've just greatly increased AC and damage resistance and poison resistance, I think. So it's just more of a tank. So basically I think it holds its own in combat more. Pretty slow, but tankish. If you guys have some ideas for how I could make this more interesting, that would be cool. But I can't really think of anything. Whack. And I'm not hitting anything, because I don't have any points in melee. So, I don't know. Maybe it's useless, maybe not. Maybe I should increase the speed. I don't know. What do you think a being made of water would have an advantage in? And I'm necking. Oh, see? See? The shopkeeper is casting all kinds of spells now. Ah. Okay. Alright, next is Force. So we'd probably all agree that Force was one of, if not the most useful schools before. It was super overpowered. I've tried to balance it out. I really liked Jolt, but Jolt is gone. Level 1 is Hold Portal. This is exactly Mage Lock. I had to put Mage Lock somewhere because I moved stuff around. I don't think it made sense to have it in the Temporal College. I think it's a matter of force, holding a door. Therefore, the door is held. I recycled this art to hold the door. I think it's super cool. Level 2 is Flux. This is a fun little spell. What this does is it increases your magical aptitude. My aptitude is too high to show you. Let's look at Virgil. Virgil. He is at 4 aptitude for some reason. I don't know why his aptitude is so low. That's weird. Maybe he's carrying some tech items. We're going to cast Flux on him. Oh, I guess he's registering that as an aggressive spell. I'll have to fix that. Oh, it didn't work on him. Weird. Okay, well, Virgil's acting funny. So normally what Flux does is it increases your magical aptitude up 60%. That one might need some tweaking, but I will tweak it before the final release. Okay, alright. Next, Wall of Force, we all know and love. Costs a lot to maintain. Next, Shield of Protection. I bumped this up so it does like massive damage reduction, but not AC. So very, very useful spell in combat. And then we have Disintegrate. I made it very cost prohibitive. You probably will not be able to cast it until you're level 20, 25. Maybe level 20. And I increased the save, so creatures can save against this more often, hopefully, if the game's working correctly. All spell saves have been reconsidered so that spells now can use, some spells use Dex, some spells use Constitution, some are Willpower. I've tried to make more variety. Alright, on to Mental. First is Charm, works exactly the same as before. Second is Stun, works exactly the same as before, except it's a little more cost prohibitive. You can cast it 2 or 3 times if you're level 1 and then you fall over. It was way too useful early on. Level 3 is Presence. Only castable on the caster, raises your charisma up 4. Level 4, Traumatize. I like this spell a lot. It's probably overpowered. For some reason, the way the game is working, when a monster starts to flee, they almost never stop fleeing. Traumatize stuns, disarms, and causes enemies nearby to flee. So these characters are frozen in fear, and he's pissed. Let's see if they ever come out of being frozen in fear. This is a great spell for making random encounters faster. Okay, so now they've woken up. Probably overpowered, but it costs a lot to cast. I can only get 2 casts, so that's not too bad. I think it's a great spell, but it might need some tweaking later. You guys let me know. Dominate Will works as before, but I think the saves are a little easier. Okay, Disperse Magic is Dispel. The only difference now is that it also removes Polymorph, because Polymorph is a permanent effect. It will last forever and ever and ever, unless dispelled. Level 2 is Dampen Magic. This reduces the caster's magical aptitude for about 20 seconds. See, it went from 100 to 30. It's only going to last about 20 seconds. Just enough time to ride the train, or the subway, or to purchase from a technology shopkeeper. Okay, level 3 is Bonds of Magic, works exactly as before, stops somebody from casting magic. Really useful in Tola. Level 4 is, I'm super proud of this one, Magic Obscura. I don't think that phrase ever appeared in the game, except in the title. Magic Obscura is only cast on yourself. It removes the caster into another plane of existence, from which they can cast spells that affect the world. The caster cannot otherwise move, cannot attack. Nope. Cannot see the target. There we go. Oops, wrong spell. Caster cannot move, cannot see the target. However, they have the effects of fatigue limiting, so spells cost half as much to cast. So while I'm in this state, I cannot attack, cannot move, I think my dodge is reduced, and I have fatigue limiting. So, really cool for a caster to enter this state of being. And I pop out of it. Alright. Level 5 Reflection Shield. Should work as before. I don't know if the reflection bug still works. I think Drog fixed that in the patch that I built this on, but I'm not sure. Alright, and then we have Morph. First is Hardened Hands. Works as before, but I think I increased the damage. Don't remember. Hard to maintain for an early character. Level 2 is Ogre Skin. Works pretty much exactly as you might expect from the name. Greatly increases damage, poison, electrical, and fire resistance. Very useful later. Makes you much more of a tank. Damage, fire, and electrical resistance. Okay. It also, oh look, this is what it does to your beauty. Greatly decreases your beauty. It makes you super ugly. Drop my beauty 5 points. Okay. 3 is Shrink. Works as before. Let's shrink a halfling. Can't see the target. Womp. And he's still going. And it's not an aggressive spell for some reason. I might have to change that. Okay. Undo that. And he's not mad at me. That's cool. Number 4 is Flesh to Stone. This, I don't remember if it was a maintained spell before, but now it's a maintained spell. This guy's stuck. Let's go over here. You're stuck too, jerk. So these guys are held into stone until I release the spell. Now they're free. Okay. Last, this is fun. Polymorph. Man. Oh, he resisted. Let's try that again. Those guards have really high resistance. Nope, he resisted. Let's cast it on somebody who's not going to resist my spell. Like this jerk. Alright. Notice there's no spell being maintained. This is a permanent effect. He will always be a sheep forever. So you can kind of break the game. Almost. Because the only way to remove this spell, as far as I know, is with just Burst Magic. And he's back. Okay. Alright, next. Nature. Nature has some cool stuff and some weak stuff. I removed the summon spell, Sucker Beast, because I want summoning to have its own jam. Number 1, Charm Beast. Pretty easy to cast even for a low-level character, because I want druids to be a little more powerful. Level 2, Entangle. Hard to maintain for very long. Level 3, Control Beast. Level 4 is Tranquility. Tranquility is great for a caster now. It does not increase your HP regeneration, it increases your stress regeneration. Greatly increases the speed of your stress regeneration for as long as it's held. The caveat, though, is it reduces your speed and your dodge ability. You are in a state of calm. You are slow. You cannot dodge very well. And you can't attack. So the caster cannot attack, he's meditating. He can move, can't dodge, can't attack. Can he cast spells? He can cast spells. So this is, since fatigue potions are harder to come by, this is like a great spell for a caster to have Tranquility. If you're in a long dungeon and you have enough mana to cast this spell, 120 stress to cast this spell, then you can recuperate all of your fatigue over time. Okay. Last, for Tranquility, I like this one a lot. Wild Form. Turn into a werewolf. Okay, this greatly increases strength, constitution, speed, and melee. Okay, hopefully he's powerful enough. I think he is. Lots of fun. Yeah, he was tearing through him. Really cool to run through Tarrant or Ashbury like a werewolf. Okay. Then we just change back. Next, I'm going to save the Necromantic spells for when there's undead around, so I can demonstrate. Let's go on to Phantasm. First is Illuminate, works exactly as before, but a lot easier to cast and maintain. Level 2 is Flash. Flash works as before, except it blinds a crowd of people. This is much more useful when you're fighting a big mob of people. See? So some of them resisted because they're higher level. People forgot about blind in the original game, but it's quite useful. Okay. Next is Vanity's Veil. So, as you might guess from the name, this increases your beauty up to 4 points scaled. Oh, that did not increase my beauty for some reason. Huh, I'll have to fix that. Well, it will work in the final release. Should increase beauty 4 points. I like the idea of Vanity's Veil because it's just an illusion of beauty. It actually doesn't change your beauty. Okay. Beauty is still kind of a useless stat, but it's the idea of being able to increase your beauty is fun for roleplay. Blur is Blur Sight, except now it gives like a much higher increase, not much, but good bit higher increase to AC, and it increases backstab, pickpocket, and prowling. Excellent skill for a thief. Then finally we have invisibility. Exactly the same as before, but little harder to maintain. Okay. Next, summon spells. You can no longer summon orcs or ogres because that's slavery, which is actually addressed in the game, so it's weird that you can summon them. Instead, you summon magical creatures. Level 1 is Wisp. That's a higher level kind of Wisp, but level 6. Level 2 is Dragon Spawn. That's a level 10 Dragaron. Level 3 is Familiar. However, Familiar costs like 240 stress. You're not going to be able to cast this until like level 20. So it is prohibitive, which I think it should be. But I like having it earlier in the school because there are different Familiars based on your level. Level 4 is Guardian. This was a Baleful Hound that I renamed Guardian, just like the Guardian from Tola. So let's imagine that mages have these guardian creatures, just like they do in Tola. It makes sense that you can summon one yourself. Where was it? Unfortunately, it's pink. I couldn't change the color, but still pretty cool. And he's really tough. Super tough, actually. Maybe a little too tough. Okay, and then level 5 is Hellgate, just like before. Temporal had some major changes. Level 1 is Hasten. When you cast Hasten, it automatically caps your speed at 25. So you get a bonus to your speed, but it caps it at 25, so there's no crazy speed. Congeal Time pretty much does the same as before. Level 3 is Quicken Wits. Increases your intelligence by 4. This is good if it increases it enough for you to maintain an extra spell. Well, I guess you'd be taking up a spell in exchange. But it's good for some quests when you need extra intelligence. Or maybe if you're a mage tech combo, like walking the line. Temporary increase to intelligence. The level 4 spell I'm really proud of. I like this spell a lot. Halt Time is essentially time stop from Dungeons & Dragons. It temporarily freezes all enemies near you. All enemies surrounding you. So let's get these guys good and pissed off. And then we'll halt time. He must have made his save. Everybody else is frozen. Let's see how long they're frozen for. It does not stack, so I can't cast it on them again. So he's unfrozen. These guys are fleeing. So not going to do anything. Let's do it one more time. There we go. And I can leave. Really good for escaping. Also good for just freezing people and beating the crap out of them. Okay, and then of course there's Tempest Fugit, which works pretty much as before, but it's really hard to maintain. Unless you're a very well-developed caster, you're not going to be able to hold that spell for more than like 10 or 20 seconds, I hope. Let's go over to the undead so I can show you some of the undead spells. Okay. My apologies for the slow walk. Can I get through here? No. Okay. I think there's still some zombies running around. I did the Malachi Wrench quest already, but there are still some zombies walking around. Okay. So, Necromantic Black had a lot of changes to it. I wanted most of the damage spells to be in the elements. So Harm got replaced, and there's no Quench Life. I didn't like the idea of just a boring murder spell. Because we already have Disintegrate, right? Alright, let's find some zombies. Okay. Level 1, Necromantic Black. Conjure Spirit, same as before. Level 2, Traverse the Dead. Cast this on the PC or an NPC. This is exactly the same as Sanctuary, except it's cheaper and easier to cast. The way I figure, one major NPC at the end of the game talks about their time spent traveling the lands of the dead and learning from the dead. This is a lesser version of that spell. Cast it on yourself, you get this really cool constant animation. You should be able to walk past most undead unnoticed and unharried. Some undead with higher perception will spot you. I've been spotted by tattered bowmen pretty regularly, but most undead will miss you. As soon as I remove it, rah. Where the hell did that come from? Seriously though, where did that come from? Oh, that was in the house. That's right, there's an arachnid that comes out of one of these houses. That's funny. Anyway, let's go here. Okay, so that's Traverse the Dead. Level 3 is Corpse Fire. This is what was Harm. Now it's Corpse Fire. This damages all creatures surrounding the caster. It steals their life force to heal the caster. So let's take a little bit of damage. These guys beat on me for a little bit. Okay. And we'll hit Corpse Fire. See, my health go up. Okay. Now they're running away. This is like a mass harm that also heals you. However, I don't think it's overpowered because it costs a lot to cast. I can only cast 4 or 5 of these right now, and I have really high stress level. So really good at crowd control and a little bit of healing, but not gonna break the game. Level 4, Control Undead. Works as before. Actually, was this even a spell before? No, this was an unused spell. Now you can control a target undead. Let's have him walk over here. Go over there, zombie. Is he controlled? There we go. There's my zombie boy. Let's control him. He's controlled. Back up. He's actually not listening. There he goes. Cool. So that's Control Undead. Might be fun to control a lich or something, or maybe a cursed paladin. And then the last one, there's no more Quench Life. I thought that was stupid. Reanimate. This is exactly Raise Undead, except it doesn't cost a lot to maintain. It just creates a corpse of any fallen creature. I think this is really the spirit of necromancy, and that's what it should be. Okay, Necromantic White is pretty much unchanged, except for one extra spell. Minor Healing is the same. Halt Poison is the same. More helpful now because I increased poison damage all around, so poison's a little more troubling. Level 3 is Holy Fire. This is the alternative to Corpse Fire. Holy Fire does massive damage to all surrounding undead, but it only hurts the undead. I've tried to include a save on this spell, but I just can't get any undead to save. So I tried to lower the damage so it wasn't super overpowered. I don't know. I hope it's not overpowered. Really cool effect too. I think it's great. You get 10 undead around you and just go to town. And then there's Major Healing and Resurrect. Okay, and that's pretty much all of it. So I'm going to put a link in the bottom of the video to download and install the mod. All of these spells should be working as intended by the time I put that link down there. I'm really interested in hearing what you guys think, and I hope you enjoy this. You know, if some spells are a little overpowered or underpowered, I hope at least that they complement the role-playing to the game. They give you new ways to think about your character. Alright guys, thanks so much.